who's on. I am Brian Page. I am with Mead and Hunt. We are a consultant hired by the city of Petaluma to go through this process. I have quite a bit of experience, I guess, doing this, helping out other communities, I guess, throughout the state of California. So that's where we are. Next, I'll hand it off, I guess, to whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I can take it from here. So I'm Alex Radovanovich, also with Mead and Hunt, the project manager for projects that the city of Petaluma has going on, including the one that's currently going on, which is the base aircraft apron rehabilitation.
Dan Cohen, airport manager. I help coordinate and facilitate the project work at the airport on behalf of the city of Petaluma.
My name is Alyssa Teddy. I'm the Senior Management Analyst in Public Works, supporting this DBE program from within Public Works. Nancy?
And I'm Nancy Sands. I am the Management Analyst for the Economic Development Division for the City of Petaluma, and I'm participating because I would like to share additional resources that businesses can take advantage of if they're interested in bidding for any of these projects.
Okay, very good. On your screen, you can see the agenda that we're going to be following today. The requirements of the contract, qualifications and so forth is going to be part of the overall federal process. There are certain requirements that will be listed in each one of the bidding documents that will show essentially what those qualifications need to be. And that is particularly if you are going to be priming the project. And you need to make sure that you do take a look at those federal requirements. And again, they'll be posted as part of the project manual. And there are federal requirements and state requirements that will be included in those documents. To request the documents, once the project is ready to go, that can be done through the city. Maybe Daniel, maybe you could help us out a little bit, I guess, of where they would typically go to request proposal documents, or if those are handled electronically.
In general, most requests for any of that could go through the airport email address, airport@cityofpetaluma.org. I don't know if there's any other avenues that would be better for that, but that's probably the best place to start.
Okay. Very good. And in terms of the wage rate requirements for the project, there is going to be, on this project, the Davis-Bacon wage rates will apply. And we'll need to make sure that, that you are following those wage rates once the project begins for the various different work categories that are listed, in addition to making sure that the fringe benefits and so on are part of your bidding process to make sure that you have those wage rates included. So we'll make sure that those wage rates are included in the bidding documents as kind of a reminder of what's out there, so you'll know what region and what time frame, I guess, of which wage rates that you'll be using on the project. So the projects that we have coming up at the Petaluma Airport are going to be federally eligible type projects under the Airport Improvement Program. And with that, there are certain federal requirements that come along with that for DBE requirements. And the DBE requirements, or Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program requirements, are going to be such that any of the AIP projects that are in excess of $250,000 per year are going to require some level of participation on those projects. The city has gone through and has calculated what the percentage and the goal is going to be on those projects based on the availability of certified DBEs that are in the area in comparison to other businesses in the same work category. So with that, we can talk a little bit about the project opportunities that are going to be coming up. And if you give me a second here, I'm going to flip flop and share a different screen. Well, that's not coming up here. All right. Sorry for the delay. Can you see that screen?
Yes.
Okay, this is the capital improvement program for the Petaluma Municipal Airport. What we'll be focusing on today and talking about are the projects that you see listed on the CIP for the fiscal years coming up in beginning in 2022, current year, going out to 2024. And the goal that has been calculated has taken those projects into account as to what those projects are going to be, and taking a look at the various different projects from an eligibility standpoint, and making the goal or calculating a goal around those eligible projects. So as I mentioned previously, the $250,000 minimum threshold is what we're looking at to be able to have those types of projects kick in to where the 49 CFR Part 26 disadvantaged business enterprise goal is a requirement. So when we start looking at 2022, for instance, we have the based aircraft apron rehab project, the construction of that project that shows the entitlements, and where we're looking at in particular, where we're focusing on is what the federal share of that project is going to be. And you can certainly see that it's estimated to be well in excess of 250,000. So that is the one of the qualifying projects that was used to be able to formulate the goal. If we move into the next year, there's two projects that are shown. First one being Taxiway Alpha Rehabilitation Project Overlay and Design. There's also a second project, which is the South Taxi Lane B Reconstruction and Design, combined as one. Now you can note that both of those projects, or each individual one, does not cross the threshold. What's interesting about that year is combined, they do just barely cross the federal requirement threshold. So we will have to make sure that we're including those projects into the overall program, which has already been done. So those projects do qualify and were calculated into the overall part of the goal. The next project that we see moving on to 2024 is going to be the Airport Pavement Maintenance Management System, or the APMS update. The interesting part about that project, as we can see, is that project does not qualify, therefore will not be included as part of the goal computation. Just reason being is it doesn't meet the minimum threshold for being a qualifying project. So those are the projects. Looks like we have 4 projects listed in the triennium for which this goal will be computed. And those are the projects that will be carried forward in the overall process. So if there are any questions related to any of those projects, certainly feel free to reach out to the airport and ask them for more information regarding those projects. And they can certainly guide you through and maybe give you a few more details about those projects, about what they will entail. With that, what we would do, we do want to talk a little bit about operating on the airport environment. Operating on the airport environment is going to be something that is all about safety, as it is on any construction site. But with an airport, the things that we need to be cognizant of is, because it is an airport environment, you're talking about aircraft that are moving at some pretty high speeds, particularly if they are out on an active runway and taking off or landing or what have you. Even in the airport operating environment, there is going to be right-of-way restrictions that you're going to need to be aware of if you do or plan to work on this airport, or perhaps you have worked on an airport, but you do need to be sure that you are aware that once you're on an airport or an airport environment, that aircraft always have the right of way. So if you were on a piece of pavement somewhere out there and you are coming up on an aircraft that is moving toward you, your vicinity, you need to give way as a ground vehicle to that operating aircraft. Now, for the most part, any of the active pavements and the construction that's going to ultimately be taking place on these airports, there will be some discussions about that, and the primary focus will be is to try to close those pieces of pavement for that time being, just to be sure that there's a limited amount of risk and any sort of potential conflict on those active pavements. So we'll try to do that, but there certainly on active airports, there is always that potential that a ground vehicle may be in proximity of a operating aircraft. So we need to make sure that people understand the rules of the airport, not necessarily the road, but the airport. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on. All vehicles that are going to the airport or operate in the airport environment are going to be required to be signed or have a vehicle identification sign on it as to who it is, what business, and so forth. And then from a visibility standpoint, that vehicle is going to be required to actually have an operating amber beacon or warning light, as you see on many road construction projects. Or it's going to be required to have a orange and white international checkered flag on the vehicle, only for daytime operations. If you're operating out there at night, obviously you can't see a flag at night. So there goes the need, and there'll be a necessity to make sure that you do have an operating beacon out there. So these are things just to be aware of on an airport and an operating environment. The general airport is a restricted area. And during the construction, there will be likely access points to be able to have the construction vehicles access different parts of the airport for construction purposes. And if that's the case, there'll be requirements to have gate guards and traffic flaggers and things of that sort, depending on the nature of the project. So just do be aware that these are things that from a safety standpoint, we come along with operating on the airport environment. So Dan, is there anything that I may have missed that you might want to add?
Sure. Yeah. Depending on the type of work, depending on how close you are to those safety areas, there are a lot of restrictions on staging of vehicles, materials, work hours, the restrictions on those, notice to airmen that need to be filed for those. Obstructions such as cranes, large pieces of equipment, anything over a certain foot value will need to be, a notice to airmen needs to be put in for those. So there's a lot of items like that that normally would not be part of a construction operation that do need to be accounted for, and notices need to be filed for those, usually by the contractor through the FAA's obstruction notification system, but there are other options to make sure that those are filed with the NOTAM system. So those are just a few of the items. It all depends on the project, but as you get closer and closer to that taxiway and runway safety environment, the restrictions do get do grow as far as their scope and trying to mitigate safety issues in those areas.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dan. The main upshot to today's discussion is to really just making and raising awareness that that there are certain restrictions that come along with working on airports that are a little unique to airports, just for bidding purposes and working on the airport environment. But certainly, as with any construction project out on an airfield, there will be a pre-construction conference that will go over all of these details a little bit more in detail, where access points are, for instance, you know, where the emergency services will be located and things of that sort. But today's discussion is really just to make sure that you are aware as a potential party that's interested in bidding an airport project that that you are aware that there are these restrictions that are in place. So with that, we'll move on to the next item, which is talking about general discussion on the DBE program. This is an opportunity to be able to answer any questions that people may have out there about the projects coming up, just about the program itself. But I'll try to highlight and give a summary, I guess, of the purpose of the program, and we'll kind of go from there. The program is a federal requirement, as is identified in 49 CFR Part 26. And this is something that comes along with operating and doing projects under the Airport Improvement Program. So that's what is necessitating, I guess, this requirement and where it is coming from. It's nothing new. It's been out there a long, long time. So projects that do qualify under AIP are going to be required to have a DBE program in place, and then also be required to be able to meet the goal as identified by the airport sponsor. So that's where we're at, I guess, with this overall program and program requirement. We'll move on, talk a little bit about the summary of the project schedules. Project schedules are such that a lot of the work that is done under the Airport Improvement Program does come out on an annual basis, and there is a kind of a fairly, established, if you would, schedule. It's a little, I guess it does fluctuate maybe by a few weeks one way or the other, but generally speaking, the projects do follow the award of the federal grant through AIP. That will typically take place sometime right around the midsummer to late summer timeframe, defined in as July, August, perhaps as late as early September, for the fiscal year that you're currently in. For example, the federal fiscal year starts at the beginning of October and runs out at the end of September annually. So in this case, we are currently at the end of August of 2022. We are currently in the 2022 federal fiscal year, but it's coming to an end next month. So the federal project and the federal award, Daniel, I don't know if that project has already been awarded, if you've already gotten the AIP project.
It has, yes.
Okay. So that award has been made, and the goal that is soon to be coming out will be used to basically administer that project that is currently been out there and awarded through the federal grant process. So same thing will happen next year. Next year, there's going to be the next projects that will be coming up, the taxiway A and then the South Taxiway B. Rehab projects, those projects will be going out. I don't know, Dan, will they be combined as one project with different bid schedules, or will they be two different separate bids?
At this time, they're two separate biddable projects.
Okay. So if the amount of those projects totals up to be what we were looking previously at the CIP as being, it does look like next year is also going to come with a DBE goal and requirement. So we'll see how that goes, but stay tuned. I guess things happen, things change in a period of time, but depending on the award for next year, we'll kind of wait and see, what that looks like or what that shapes up to be in 2023. The timing of those projects would be as such that we'd be looking at probably having those projects bid by sometime right around the April-May timeframe, maybe sooner than that, earlier than that in the year.
And then just, so for 2023, those are design grant, and then the construction for that is 2025. That's what the current program is. So if that changes, kind of.
Perfect. Okay, so that's what we'd be looking at as far as the overall schedule goes for that. And then as we talked about the next project in 2024, we don't really anticipate by the sounds of it of having any qualifying project that's going to be able to meet the goal. So with that in mind, we should be pretty safe for 2024. Now that could change depending on projects and what the city may decide to do. There's a lot of time between now and then. So we'll see what happens, but certainly if there is a qualifying project, the 49 CFR Part 26 goals will apply. So with that, as far as resources go, we'll talk a little bit about contacts, and perhaps we do have a sign-in sheet here at the meeting today, and we'll post that up at the conclusion of today's meeting, and that will have the contact information of the attendees today. And again, everybody that identified themselves early on in the attendance would be available to answer any questions that you may have. But certainly feel free to reach out to the city. You can reach out to Mead and Hunt, depending on the nature of your question, and we'll do our best to give you a timely response. So with that, good luck in your bidding, and let us know if you have any questions. So I don't know if there's anybody that wanted to add on or maybe add any additional information, I guess, for today.
Yeah, I do actually. And I'm going to, again, this is Nancy Sands. I work for the Economic Development Division for the city. I want to put Dan and or Alyssa on the spot really quickly. Can you, for anyone who happens to be in the future listening to this recording, can you talk a little bit about how these projects go out to bid? So if someone is interested in getting on a list or becoming aware of how these projects are coming up, what would they need to do?
So the projects are all posted on the bid opportunities page on the city website. I think we should be able to provide that link somewhere in here if it's not already provided. In addition, it would be posted in the Argus Courier as well, and there may be even another spot where that is posted. But those two areas, it will be posted on every single project. Anyone who wanted to bid on those needs to go to that link and look at all the attachments and all the instructions, and then formulate their submission for that particular biddable item, whether it be an actual construction item or a request for qualifications or request for a proposal.
Great. So if there's no like mailing list or email list that we have as a city where we just send out to people who have mentioned that they're interested in bidding on any city projects, we don't keep anything like that.
I'm not aware of anything like that. There are some specialty services often that are only provided by maybe a handful of companies, and sometimes we will let them know about the posting, but it's more of just an informational, here's where to go for that information. We don't provide that information inside of any of those emails, or it's more of just an alert rather than an actual posting. Okay.
So if anyone's watching this recording in the future, just make sure that you pay attention to the city's website, the bids page, and that way you would become aware of opportunities. What I wanted to talk about, if I can just share my screen for a second here, Brian. I just wanted to let our participants know that there are various certification programs. We don't ourselves require that you be a certified minority business in order to participate in our bidding process. But there are programs where you can, through our local Small Business Development Center, which is funded by the Small Business Administration at the federal level, where you can actually learn from a business advisor how to become certified for these kinds of disadvantaged business enterprise programs. And that while again, the city of Petaluma doesn't require you to get that certification, going through a program like that would definitely make you more competitive in terms of understanding what the proposals need, how to make sure that you're well capitalized, and the other kinds of things that are just good business practices. So if you are local to the County of Sonoma, you can go to the Small Business Development Center's website, which is sonomasbdc.org, and register on their website to find out what kind of opportunities there are for those kinds of programs. I also, so I'm going to share my screen again and actually have hopefully you can see the Small Business Development Center's website. So if you are interested in learning about what the SBDC offers, both in Sonoma County, California level, as well as nationally, you can go to the SBDC site here and just click Get an Advisor, and they will, you fill out the information and then they'll contact you. So the Small Business Development Center is a wonderful way to get a no-cost one-to-one advising and training. And we recommend it to any business that's starting or in some kind of transition, wants to go into a new field and so forth. And a lot of these advisors are happen to live, well, they all live in Sonoma County, but some of them happen to live in Petaluma. And so you can, at this time, meet with them personally as well as over Zoom. The other website that I wanted to make people aware of is obviously our city website. And this is our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program webpage. But we were talking about the bidding, the bid opportunities page. Oops, bid opportunities. Well, so if you go to the search bar and just do bid opportunities, you'll find it here. And you can see here that we have all of our various projects, not just for the airport, but for all of our city projects here. And if you have any questions, there's contact information, I believe, either on this page or for each of the bids. So that's, again, as Brian mentioned, our information is available, as well as if you go to the City of Petaluma website and you get stuck and you need to find someone, you can always do a search and for the Public Works Department page and send an email that way. Thank you. That's all I have for today.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. I think that concludes things for today, unless Alyssa, Dan, Alex, if you had any parting thoughts, comments?
I don't. Thank you.
Nothing
Thank you
for
for
me.
your time.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And again, there'll be a sign-in sheet that will be available out there. So if you do any questions, the contact information will be listed on that sign-in sheet. So with that, we'll conclude for today, and let us know if you have any questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.